Greetings Guardians, my name is Bife here. So today I wanted to build on all the theory that I put out there in my video on the Veil yesterday. A lot of stuff in that video is not at all confirmed, a lot of it is simply trying to piece together dots and speculate about things, but it is also very tantalizing and it left me with a question or two. Those questions relate to what we learned about where the witness might have gone and how it might have gotten there and a way that we might follow it. I think that there's something in Root of Nightmares that is just staring us in the face and it demands to be noticed. Something which might point the way to the future and which might allow us to follow the witness. Everything I'm going to talk about today is speculative and theoretical, but nonetheless, it was such a tantalizing possibility that I thought it was absolutely worth discussing. So, in yesterday's video I went over a lot of ideas and theories pertaining to the Veil. Before I continue, I wanted to go ahead and do two things. First of all, I would strongly recommend watching that video so that we're all on the same page. Secondly, I actually wanted to go ahead and recommend another video. This video comes from a channel called Maximizing Destiny. I don't generally shout out lore stuff, but essentially it goes into the potential relationship between the Veil and fungi. It sounds really weird when you put it like that, but honestly, the more I listened to the stuff in that video, the more fascinating it was, and so I figured it was cool to go ahead and leave that for you guys as well. To Maximizing Destiny, well done, seriously, you put some fantastic stuff into this video and I really hope that everybody jumps in and checks it out. I'll go ahead and leave a link to that down below in the description. That way, hopefully people can go ahead and check it out for themselves. It seems like it's got a lot of really great research in there. I'm not referring to any of it in this video for reasons that I hope will become clear in a moment, but regardless, I really did think it was worth sharing. So yeah, absolutely, everybody go check that one out as well. So that we are all on the same page though, I wanted to go over the basics of what I discussed in my video yesterday and the speculation that I put forward, which is this. The Veil seems to be an object that gives off both signs of light and darkness, as well as something which seems to allow the witness to both approach the traveler and open its portal, after it had linked to it. In addition, we had a tweet from a Bungie employee who showed off the art of the Veil and described it as a source of vast cosmic energy and a record of the memory of the universe. That description doesn't come from in-game and so it isn't truly verified, but it's worth knowing nonetheless. Regardless, it appears that the witness was attempting to access the Veil via the use of light and darkness in combination. Its darkness in combination with an object such as the radial mast might have been what was required to link to the Veil. In the end, the witness possessed our ghost, a creature full of light, and then managed to link to the Veil. The Veil is a total mystery to us still for the most part, but these are a few things that we can guess at via observation. Not all of it can be confirmed, but they're important things to keep in mind going forward, and they may help to explain a little bit of what's going on in our video today. So, with all of that explained, where does this theory start and how is this idea of light and dark linked to the Root of Nightmares raid? Well, it all starts here. The attack that the Traveler made upon the Witness might have seemed like a hollow gesture at first. The Witness seemed not only impervious to its attack, but also completely unfazed. Nothing about the Traveler's beam seemed to trouble it, even as the energy overran its personal pyramid vessel. But from this moment, the Root of Nightmares raid was spawned. Whilst the Root of Nightmares raid was something that we were only truly forced to go on by the presence of Nezarec, The Traveler's actions are technically what had awoken the slumbering final god of pain. The idea I want to pose to all of you is this. What if the Traveler's attack on the Witness was deliberate, but for a different set of reasons? I'm certainly not suggesting that the Traveler deliberately revived Nezarec, but I do think that there's something more which we absolutely need to consider. The idea of bomb logic. Some of you might not remember what bomb logic is, so here's a quick refresher. Bomb logic is essentially the inverse of sword logic. Sword logic, at its heart, is an idea about what survives and therefore what is powerful. The idea of sword logic is that that which is most deadly and simple will be victorious. It is the principle that underpins the whole philosophy of the Hive and Rhulk and the Witness. The sword logic, according to the Hive, is supposed to be what leads to the ultimate form of the universe and brings about the final shape, where nothing that isn't necessary can exist. Bomb logic proposes a different form of power. Instead of one simple thing bringing about power, bomb logic proposes that a collection of things in combination will bring about great power. The analogy works like this. It's a little bit like understanding the construction of a bomb or an explosive. Whilst each individual part of the bomb on its own is inert, it's when in combination that they can create a greater source of power and explode. Simply put, bomb logic implies that power comes from complexity and combining things. Sword logic implies that power comes from the simplicity of singular things. I think that the Traveler might have been setting up a tool of bomb logic for us. It may have been combining things on the Witness's vessel, and I think we can see all of it in the Root of Nightmares raid. In fact, I think we can see it from first encounter all the way to last. I believe it's in this root. Now, on its own, this root has already done some notable things. This root, which is something which gets pointed out in all sorts of art and whatnot, is linked to the Tree of Silver Wings, of course, which the Traveler seemingly planted in the Witness's pyramid ship. It's also managed to grab something of the Witness's along the way. Not only did it crash right through Nezarec's resting place, but it also speared something of the pyramid's architecture. This thing here on the end. Whilst we don't know what this symbol is, we can see it everywhere in the Pyramid Fleet's visual language. It's presented in the symbol of the Witness from the Vow of the Disciple raid, with the Witness holding the Upended in one hand and this symbol in the other. It's presented on the side of the Upended. It's presented on a ton of miscellaneous pyramid items. Heck, if you jump into the third encounter in Root of Nightmares and you just jump up really high and look down at the floor, you can see a massive version of this symbol embossed on the floor. And by the way, that's your wipe timer. The symbol is everywhere, and you can even see it present in a lot of the original concept art for Root of Nightmares when showing off this root. Check out this image in particular, and you can see that it really has been a central part of the ideas behind the raid, even from its first concept. But then again, it's never been confirmed what it is. We just know that it's associated with the Pyramid Fleet and therefore with darkness. Nevertheless, the root of the Tree of Silver Wings has seemingly caught it in its tangle. But what's more important about this is that this root, unlike seemingly the entire rest of the raid, doesn't change. Let me explain. Throughout the raid, we have a theme of growth. The raid is always changing, and this often leads to the pyramid architecture being violently broken apart by the roots of the Tree of Silver Wings, as it blooms off in the distance and the roots grow. We're the ones responsible for this process, by the way, because as we progress from second to third encounter and third encounter to fourth, we will actually have little mini sections where we will connect the dots as we do and cause this to happen. When you leave these sections, the world has changed. We cause this to happen as we progress through the raid. But in spite of all the changes that occur in the raid, there is one thing, one constant throughout the entire raid that does not change. Even as the floor falls out around you and you have to jump from root structure to offset temple complex just to progress, the one thing that doesn't change is that central root, the one that has pierced the containment spike ceiling in Nezarec. The root and its strange piece of darkness-aligned architecture never move. They never grow larger, they never get more complex, and they always point in the same direction. On that note, what are they pointing at? Oh. Yeah. Suddenly you might start to understand why I was talking about bomb logic before, but for those of you that aren't there, here are the puzzle pieces as I see them. Whilst this isn't confirmed and it is all just theory, I think that the Traveler's actions here were deliberate, and I think that the creation of this particular combination of light and dark architecture is the reason why. I think that it is pointing at the doorway that the Witness created for good reason. The Witness seemingly only managed to link to the Veil and thus allow the portal to be created in the first place by using objects of light. In the end, it linked to our ghost in order to accomplish that final objective. I think that might, like everything in Root of Nightmares, be a fusion of light and dark, and I think that that is the key answer. I think that the creation of a greater combination of these two might be the key to following the Witness, and I think that it all begins with the roots of the Tree of Silver Wings. To make a little further commentary on this, I wanted to just throw a few little bits and pieces in here. Whilst nothing I've talked about goes beyond the scope of headcanon and theory, I do think that it's worth pointing these things out. Firstly, in all the concept art showing off this prime root, as I might call it, it's always attached to the architecture, and it's always pointing at the portal in the Traveler. This seems to imply that the idea of this root in particular always being static was something that was kept from the very beginning. The idea that it was always the one that pierced Nezarec's containment is fairly cut and dry, you know? Like, yeah, sure, that's going to stay the same because that's where your boss spawns. But they didn't need to point it at the Traveler in every single shot, including early concept art. It might be the case, then, that this was always a part of the plan. It might have deliberately been left in such a position with a purpose. It's not confirmed if that is the case, but the idea that it's been planned that way for so long seems to hold merit to the idea that that was done deliberately. And secondly, when we do grow the Tree of Silver Wings in the raid, we can't do so with the power of the light alone. Both fields of light and fluxes of darkness need to be nurtured in order to activate the way forward and allow us to progress, and in order for the Tree of Silver Wings to bloom. I cannot imagine that that is an accident. The tree may be a creation of light, but we're feeding and growing it with both light and darkness. The use of both light and dark is a constant theme throughout the raid, and I think that this is one of the many ways in which it hints to the greater things to come in the narrative. So that's my crazy theory about the raid and this last final bit of architecture, the prime root as I'm going to call it. The combination of light and dark which makes up the Veil is potentially something which allows us to understand why this is the way that it is, and why the Traveler might have placed it here. This may be the Traveler's final gift to us, something that in combination allows us to follow the Witness and put an end to its plans. Could it all be nonsense? Absolutely. But just in case it's not, watch this space. If we ever return to this pyramid ship in particular, I imagine this might be something of relevance. Who knows what the future might bring, but if this is something of relevance, let's just remember, the Traveler was pointing the way all along. That's all from me for now. Thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and leave a like, and of course, leave your own thoughts down below in the comments section. Is this just a load of nonsense? Do I have something here? Is this really just me taking a look at something in the raid and pulling way too much from it, or is it something which might hold merit? Let me know. I've been stuck in my own head for the last however many days, and I'd love to get your thoughts on that. Of course, if you want more Destiny content, go ahead and hit subscribe and the bell next to subscribe to turn on those email notifications. But as per usual, know that your viewership, as always, is quite enough for me, and that in the meantime, my name is Bife. Orodasia ad Astra. I'll see you Starside.